I'm so glad to be here. So my talk is how I made friends with the blue bird. And for those of you who don't know who the blue bird is, I'm referring to Twitter. But we'll also cover content creation on YouTube. And to be honest, all these ideas are portable to other platforms as well. You've probably seen me from socials. I usually doing a screaming face. It's kind of my brand. And you've probably seen me with my laptop, as a digital nomad near some water, a pool or a beach. Maybe that explains why I've got the screaming face, but luckily nothing bad has happened to my laptop just yet, so all is good. But I wasn't always like that. I was in the corporate world. I did work in the government sector, and we were talking yesterday about open banking at dinner. So I did do R&D at NatWest. So I did all those fun things. And as a lot of places, we use open source, but the project we were building wasn't open source, and that's why I started creating content, because I really wanted to kind of let people know how awesome open source is and why they should make their product open source. And open source did open so many doors for me, it really, really did, and so did content creation. Again, this is why I'm so passionate to share it all with you. So what we're going to cover is we're going to cover my journey very, very briefly. I want to talk about why it's important, how it can help with networking, communication. Learning in public can really help, build a community. My strategy, I want to kind of share that with you, can be completely transparent. I'll give you kind of an overview of that. And then, content creation is hard, but we can make it work harder for us to make it easier. And that's what I'm super excited to share with you. Also, I want to talk about money. And I know everyone gets really nervous when they talk about money, but we all need money. And so let's talk about it and be transparent about it and see how we can make more money. There's always challenges with content creation, building a community. So we're going to talk about that. Things like notifications, ideas, trolls. I know that puts a lot of people off. And then I'm going to have a section for questions, because I really, really love questions. Please think of some questions and have them for me at the end. I had loads of amazing questions at dinner yesterday, so I can't wait for some more today. Talking about questions, actually, I have a couple of questions for you. So I do say put your hand up, but as earlier on, they were saying stand up, so let's do stand up. So stand up if you're thinking about creating content but don't know where to start. Okay, a few people, okay. Awesome. And then stand up if you would like to grow on a social platform, any platform. You gotta stand up though, you gotta stand up. I need to see numbers. Well, hopefully we can increase that. Okay, it's increasing, thank you. Okay, awesome. You're all still awake, which is great. So why Twitter and YouTube? So I'm gonna focus on these two because it's the platforms that I focus on. I do use other platforms as well, but these are the ones I focus on. So I'm gonna give you two perspectives. I joined Twitter, as you can see, in 2010, but I joined not to create content, to follow people. I wanted to follow the speakers. I wanted to see what content other people were sharing, right? They could kind of collect it from. There's too many blog posts and YouTube videos out there, but I wanted to see what other people had watched or read and were recommending. So that's what I used it for. But YouTube was different. I started this 4 years ago, and I started this with the intention to create content. I did it as a hobby. I wasn't planning to make money from it. I really enjoyed photography. You probably saw me running around with a camera, and you'll see me running around the next couple of days as well. And I enjoyed videography, and I went to a lot of events, and I really wanted to include people who couldn't go to an event because they were working or had a family or had kids or lived in a different country for whatever reason. So that's why I started YouTube. Many people I speak to, they want to create content, but they say they have these blockers. They're nervous about putting themselves out there. I'll be honest, I'm nervous about this video, and you'll understand why in a minute. But they freeze when the camera, gets turned on to record. They feel they've got nothing to share, or they feel they're not an expert, or they don't have all the tech gear. Some of you may feel like this. I know I did, and sometimes I still do. When you think of that, when you feel like that, I want you to watch this video. This is my first YouTube video, and it's the whole video I'm going to show you, which sounds really scary, but I might hide behind this Android just here, because I didn't want to include this, but Sarah made me. Please don't judge me on this, okay?
Eddie. That's me. I'm the guy with all the gear and no idea. Let me know what you think of my video in the comments below.
That was my whole first video. It's really embarrassing to watch that. Fast forward a few years later, let's get to April 2021, and I'm still tweeting randomly every 1 or 2 weeks, every month, unless I'm at an event where I tweet like 50 times in one day or something like that, just completely random. But YouTube, I did have a schedule. So at this point, I was exploring going into full stack dev, into dev role as a service. And I had a few small paying clients. And I was a bit shocked that one of the clients said to me, well, could you do a tweet and we'll pay you for it? And I was just thinking, okay, what's the tweet on? And they said, well, it's going to be on open source, all the stuff that you're doing. I'm like, okay. So I was already shocked. I only had 4,000 followers back then, and they wanted to pay me. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. And I did the pay tweet for them and everything went fine. But it got me thinking, right, could this be another revenue stream that I could do? So the next 18 months, takes us to literally today, I focused on a Twitter strategy and I grew to over 100,000 followers, and actually now Twitter is our biggest income and we have a team of 3 of us. So this is a video I did quite recently, and again, this is not the whole video. This is going to be a short clip, but just to show you the difference that practice and consistency really, really makes. This GitHub sponsors profile. Oh, wait a second. That's mine. Well, in this video, we're going to review yours, not mine. But any suggestions to mine, please do make in the comments below. Well, hopefully you can see that as a bit of an improvement. I've still got more improvement to go. But I couldn't, 5 years ago, I couldn't imagine standing up on stage in front of, 100 or so people. I found it really hard to even speak to my teammates, like the 3 teammates that I worked with day in, day out. And I got a bit more comfortable with that. And, I always talked about libraries I played with, open source I played with over the weekend. And sometimes they would say, well, after lunch, this is great. Can you just give us a demo on the big screen? But it's still the same 3 people. I wouldn't have lunch. I'd go to the bathroom like 50 times. I'd be sweating. But it's the same 3 people that I worked with for the last 2 years, and I chatted with them and geeked out with them every day. So practice, it does get easier. I want to explain a bit about why. So before I go into my strategies, you could do it just for fun, right? You could just enjoy getting up on stage, or you can enjoy creating content, whatever it is. But the other benefits are you get feedback. I love putting out, if I learn something new, I love putting content out on it because I feel like I'm starting the conversation rather than saying this is the perfect way to do it. And that way I get feedback and I can improve further and I can make more content on it later. It's a great way to make friends, as people have mentioned in the past. Like, it's great to meet so many of you. We've been geeking out on Twitter and Discord and so forth for months, if not years, and it's great to meet you all in person. So you do become part of a wider community. So you get to improve your technical skills, like I said, but more importantly, you get to improve your core skills. And by core skills, I mean your soft skills. So communication, collaboration, that's really, really hard, and that really does take practice. And networking, you always hear people saying, go to events, network, do this. It's really hard to network, but you can make it easier for yourself by creating content. It's great when people come up to me and say, hey, Eddie, it's great to meet you again. And I'm like, again? I'm like, where did I meet them? And I haven't, but we've been chatting, on Twitter or other social platforms. It just breaks the ice, makes it a lot easier. So this is 1 week, or part of a week, in fact, of my Twitter strategy. I schedule 2 to 4 weeks ahead in advance. It doesn't mean I don't tweet in real time. So today I will share pictures and so forth and things that I learned from all of you on Twitter. And what I'll do is I'll just bump one of my scheduled tweets that's going to go out next to the end of my planned schedule. So I'm still keeping it real as even though I'm scheduling it way ahead. And this might look hard, right? If I said to you, can you create content for the next 4 weeks? Do you think that'd be hard? No, just put your hand up. I'm not going to ask you to stand up this time, but even 2 weeks, is that hard to create tweets 6 times a day for the next 2 weeks? It is. But if you document your journey, it becomes so much easier. I don't feel I create content. I call it creating content because that's the terminology that everybody uses, but I don't create content. I document my journey. I'm gonna learn from all of you this weekend, and I'm gonna make notes, and I'm gonna tweet those out over the next week and so forth. And the reason why I love questions is because that also allows me to create more content. I actually put in a couple more slides this morning because of the questions I got last night at dinner. And I was like, oh yeah, people are asking, that's such an important topic, I should include it. So on the right, a small portion of the kind of type of content that I create. So you've got jokes, you've got motivation, you've got behind the scenes, promotion, questions, and that's like a quarter of it. So there's quite a few different types. So not just only are there the types, there's the format. So on the left-hand side, you can see I've got one with a photo, one that's text only, one that's got a video. And because people like to consume content in different ways. So what I do is I try and do 6 tweets a day, and that's a good cadence for me. Everyone else could be different. It could be 2 times a day, 12 hours apart to kind of catch different time zones. But then try and mix up the type of content and the format as well, because people like to consume different types of content. and there's loads more that you can do. So hopefully now you're thinking, right, okay, this sounds interesting. Maybe, where do I start? What do I do? Well, it's easier if you're passionate and you enjoy something. So if I had to ask you to come up on stage and speak for 2 minutes, 5 minutes about something, I'm not going to, don't worry. But if I did, then what could you do without planning? Like, that's a good niche, that's a good content to create on, because you don't really have to think about it. You're living and breathing it, you're passionate about it, and you can talk about it all the time. So once you've picked your niche, you need to pick a sub-niche or another niche that overlaps with it. That's a lot of niches in that sentence. But what I mean is, you want to be unique. So when I started my open source community, there are already so many open source communities out there, but I wanted to make ours different by making it an inclusive open source community. And lots of people say that, so that word, unfortunately, as much as I love it, I'm starting to hate it a bit. But we really do, and I can explain why later on, but we are really, really active at being inclusive. From mine, you can see I've kind of got 3 niches on the left. I've got DevOps, web dev, and open source, and that's my 80% of my content. So when I try and do some web dev stuff, it's usually got GitHub Actions in there, and it's definitely open source. But then 20%, I try and do a bit of, how can I say, something a bit more experimental, something a bit different. So I talk about freelancing, still related to tech, or I talk about being a digital nomad, again, related to tech. Let's focus deep now on Twitter. So I want to give you some real practical tips that you can start today. So do you have a profile picture on your Twitter? I hope you do, and hopefully it's you. I really, thank you for picking up your hand, that's brilliant. 10 points to you. I'll give you some GitHub stickers, I've got them in my bag afterwards. Hopefully you have a profile picture, and hopefully it's of you, because people want to see other people, right? People want to connect and communicate with other people. Hopefully you have a bio, and hopefully your profile picture and your name are the same on other platforms as well. Like when someone connects with me on LinkedIn, I'm like, oh, I'll see what they're up to on Twitter, because that's where I spend a lot of my time. Then I can't find them. Or I search for their name and there's lots of people with the same name, but then they've got a different picture to their LinkedIn and so forth. So make it easier for people to connect with you on other platforms. Put a link in your profile, whatever platform you're on, put a link to your website, whatever it is. Again, make it easier for people to find you. Have a banner on Twitter, like make use of this space. Maybe put some punchy words of what your content, what you're about, what you're interested in. And if you want extra points, pin a tweet to your profile. You can get extra space there. It's a great way to get more visibility, engagement on that particular tweet, but also you could put a video there, and then now when someone comes to your profile, they can even watch a video and they feel like they know you a bit more and so forth. So really make use of that space. So some other practical tips that you can do in general. Don't put links in the main tweet. Twitter is not going to promote that as much because it doesn't want people to go away from their platform. It wants to keep people on the platform. So you could do that in a reply. Careful with hashtags. I see people really overuse hashtags. They're not as powerful as they used to be. Maybe you want to keep it like 2 or 3 hashtags, and then you'll probably reduce that over time as well. Don't tag people unless they're related to that post. The amount of times I get tagged on things that I'm not in the photo, I wasn't at the event. Some people use my content and say, here's tips from Eddie's video, great, tag me, love that, I'll reshare it. But it's got nothing to do with me. They're just, I don't know, get my attention or something. And I get so many notifications, unfortunately, it just makes it a little bit harder. Sharing your posts. Some people think it's a great idea to go to every Discord group they're in, every group DM they're in, and share their links. And yes, you might get a bit more engagement on that particular post, but the problem is you're telling the platform that your post isn't keeping people on their platform, because they'll go to your post and then they'll leave. So the platform's thinking your post is making people leave their platform. So they're not gonna push it to new people that would grow your community and your following. Always reply to people. I find it really strange that people go, oh, I wanna grow a following or grow a community. But they don't reply to anyone that replies to them. So if someone replies to your tweet or your comment on a YouTube video or whatever it is, reply to them and don't just say thanks and thumbs up or something. Try and have a conversation with them. These are real people and it's a social platform. So yeah, be to be social, and that really helps. Also go to other people in your niche and engage with their content, but valuable stuff. They're more likely to reshare it. They're more likely to look at your profile and your content, valuable content rather than just saying thanks, great content. So do we have time to review someone's profile? I know we started a bit late. I'd love to review some people's profiles. I might have Stefano's one on the other tab. So this is our friend Stefano. Stefano, put your hand up. Stand up, stand up. Everyone can see who you are. Drop this awesome guy a follow. So, picture, great. Sunglasses, okay, he's trying to be cool, fine. But we want to see eyes, like people want to see people's eyes. But that's fine, it's still a good picture, it's still close up. You'll recognize that person at an event if you see them again, which is great. Get people to come up and chat to you. He's got his name there again, which is brilliant. He's got a banner, it's got a little bit of text on there. He could do a bit more, maybe put some big text on here to make it obvious like what he's interested in. But this is not bad, but it's just my personal opinion. Stefano might shake his head and disagree. In the bio, I think you could do a little bit more. Again, what kind of area of tech you're interested in and so forth. I love it that you got location, because for me, this is really good for time zones. So it doesn't have to say a location. If it said time zones for me, that would be great. But when I want to respond to people, I'm trying to respond in their time zones. And our time zones change all the time, so we want to be conscious of other people's as well. Love it that you got a GitHub link in there. Very, very cool. So if we scroll down, but I'm not going to because I don't want to break it, but if you scroll down, he tweeted, I think 10 hours ago or 20 hours ago when I checked this morning, but they hadn't tweeted for 2 weeks. So yes, hopefully we're going to encourage him to tweet every day. But I think that looks really good, so well done, Stefano. But a little bit more effort, we can get you, we can stick a 0 on the end of that in the next couple of weeks.
When did he join?
When did he join? 2009. So a year before me.
I tweet pretty much once every 2 years.
So this is my kind of YouTube notes and strategy. Thank you so much, Sarah, for drawing this up for me. If you want to get started on YouTube and blogs are more long form content, whereas Twitter, Instagram, and so forth are more short form content. And they both have their pros and cons. But with YouTube, if you want to get started on YouTube, I know people are already on YouTube here, so it's great to have you here. I look forward to geeking out later on today. But don't get hung up on not having the right kit. Please don't. Don't use that as an excuse not to get started, because I did, and that's one of my biggest regrets. You have a phone that has a great camera on it and a great microphone, just use that. If you get started, you'll realize what you want to buy. You won't do what I did, save up for 2 years, spend a year trying to figure out the equipment, then spend the next year realizing I bought the wrong equipment because I bought it all at once, and it's a big disaster. So get started with what you have. But I want to tell you a secret, and actually it's probably not a secret because you saw my first video. Your first video is going to suck. I'm sorry to say this, it is. But your 10th video will be much better and it won't suck as much. And your 100th video, okay, well, you see where I'm going with this. It's going to get better with practice, so please just practice. And it can be quite scary to be on a video by yourself, so you can always go and collaborate with somebody else. Hey, you can come in my video. We're going to be vlogging this weekend. If you want to come practice and join me, then come and join our vlog this weekend as well. You're going to think about your thumbnail and your title first. I didn't do this. I would just make videos and then I'm like, well, I've got to post this in 10 minutes. Right, title and thumbnail. But to be honest, you need to focus on that first, and then that can be the kind of the basis for the story that you want to tell. So I highly recommend spending a bit of time on that. And when you're editing a video, or if someone else edits it for you and you're watching it, watch it and watch it again. And what can you remove? Like, you want it to be as concise and impactful as possible. So my video editor, she cuts out a lot of stuff. An hour video can come down to 30 minutes. And I pass it on to Sarah, and then she cuts it down and I'll have 20 minutes and I'll be a 10-minute video. But you want to make it as impactful as possible. So yes. Not for the length, but be authentic. People want to watch you. The second video clip, that was a clip, that wasn't a whole video that I showed you, did a lot better than the first one, because they could see that was more me. Like we talked about on the Twitter profile page, make sure you have the about page on YouTube. Put your bio in there, put links to the other platforms so that people can connect with you on other platforms. Have a banner. Again, I use the same banner on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and wherever else you can put a banner. I highly recommend doing that. Again, it's the consistency. Really, really helps. Channel trailer on YouTube. There is a place like a pinned tweet on YouTube. You can put a channel trailer. Make use of that. Have a short video, again, that's really impactful and to show people what your channel is about. People are probably not going to follow you on Twitter or on YouTube the first time they see your content. Apparently it's like the 6th time. Obviously everyone's different and so forth, but people want to see your content more than once, and then they're going to follow you. Have a schedule for everything and stick to it. And your schedule on YouTube is going to be different to Twitter. Have a schedule and stick to it. So what I recommend you do is have a think. What schedule would you like to work to? If it's like posting 2 videos a week, don't do that. Half whatever you think you can do. So if you say 2 a week, do 1 a week, and stick to it for a few months, and then see if you want to increase it or decrease it. Because you want to feed the algorithm, not the trolls, and when we come to trolls in a bit. Make your content work harder for you. People say to me, Eddie, you put out a lot of content, how do you do it? To be honest, we only put out about 40% of the content we create. Because we don't really create it, as I said, we document it. And also we reuse a lot of the content again and again because we'll learn something and then we'll remake it, same basis and remake it. So for example, if you're into more long form content like blog posts, podcasts, YouTube videos, then you can take tips from that and put it on short form platforms like Twitter. And then you can put a few tweets and then in the reply put a link to the long form content. Therefore, if people want to see the full piece of content, they can go and they're more likely to stay there, watch till the end, read till the end, and again, help your longer content. But if you prefer to do short form content like on Twitter, it is easier to get started, then you can do that. In your niche, you'll be posting tweets of videos, photos, tips, etc. But then you can collect some of those up and make a blog post out of it. And you can make a video from your blog post, and you can make a podcast from your video. Then you can take clips from your videos and your podcast and put it on socials. It just kind of keeps feeding it over and over. You build up momentum, and then each time you do something, you'll learn something. And so when you do kind of take that clip or share it somewhere else, you will improve it that little bit each time. So money, everyone's really nervous about talking about money. So I really believe if you want to make money from your socials, you can. If you don't, that's also fine, but it's nice to make a bit of side income and you never know where it goes. But I really believe you should be transparent and have a pricing page, a service page with the prices that you charge. And you should be confident with those prices. And yes, it's really hard to come up with pricing. Have a look at people in your niche who have got a similar sized audience, similar engagement, and just pick a number and start. And then you might increase it, you might decrease it. But it will reduce the noise that you get as well, because then if you're charging £100 a tweet and someone wants to pay you £1, then they're not going to contact you, and it's great. It just saves you getting that extra notification, the conversation back and forth. So yes, definitely removes the noise, and that did definitely help us as well. We ummed and erred about that, but one of the best decisions that we made. And you can always increase your pricing later, but it's better to get, say, 10 sponsored tweets at £100 each than to get 0 sponsored tweets at £1,000, because you won't get £1,000. Always under promise and over deliver, but I'm sure you do that all already in your day jobs. But I would send a report. So after the post has gone out, send a report, like keep them in a loop, tell them when it's going to go out. And then a week or two afterwards say, well, you're going to get a report, take screenshots of the stats. Do have T's and C's on your pricing page, things that you won't do, like we won't be salesy, we won't do these sorts of things. I won't say I use a product if I don't use a product, and so forth. Okay, tools. Tools is really exciting. There's loads of tools out there. These are some examples. I wouldn't say you have to use these ones, but I mentioned FeedHive before. It's really good for scheduling a post, creating draft tweets that you can send a link to the client and they can approve it or not. You'll see Google Docs up there, great for scripts, for YouTube videos. We use Adobe Premiere for editing. We use StreamYard for live streams. It's not as flexible as OBS or vMix or anything like that, but it just works every time. And I think that's really important. And you don't spend so much time customizing stuff that you throw away the following week. And then we use a GitHub project board for managing all our content, all our clients and different platforms. I want to mention some tools not to use. I won't mention any names because there are a few out there, but don't use tools that promise you like more engagement or will get you more followers, like kind of almost buying followers. Don't do that. And there are some tools that will show you the most popular tweets in your niche and then tweet them on your behalf. Again, don't do that. It's literally copy and paste. It might have been from a month ago or 2 months ago, but people will notice a pattern and people will call you out on it. And it's not you, you're not being authentic. So, content ideas. So I know creating content is difficult, but documenting a journey, as I mentioned, is easier. Who's learned something in the last month, week? Yeah. So share it. You can share that and it will help someone else. Did you get stuck on something in the last week or month? You can share it and share the solution and it will help someone else. Did someone help you recently? You can
share it.
Yes, exactly. Community shout-outs are great. And do include what they helped you with, and they're more likely to reshare it. Like, for example, if anyone took a picture now and tagged me on Twitter, I'll be really grateful and I'll like your post. But I'm not going to reshare it because it doesn't add value to my community. But if you take the picture and you tag me and you say, I learned point 1, 2, and 3 from Eddie's talk, then now I can reshare it because it's going to benefit my community who weren't here. So it's kind of that way we can all help each other. If you're still short on ideas, what you can do is collaborate with other people. If someone has made a video like me, maybe you could write a blog post on it. Maybe you could make a Twitter thread out of it. Obviously, you give credit, and that's absolutely fine. So that's a good way to get started. You can always do part one, part two. If you've got a front-end developer and a back-end developer, you could create content together and you take a part each. There's so many different ways to do it. Notification is going to be a challenge. It's probably a good problem to have. Does anyone have problems with notifications yet? As in they get too many? Okay, we'll try and fix that and get you a lot more this weekend. But it's a good problem to have. But there are things you can do, like only have notifications from people that follow you. So you kind of, unfortunately, you get to a point where you'll need to kind of reduce that. Turn off notifications on your phone. Just spend an hour in the morning or an hour in the evening, catching up on notifications. Otherwise, it can really kind of take over your life a little bit. Let's just say that. Trolls. Like, is anyone worried about putting out content and getting trolled? My first few trolls were a bit scary, I was a bit upset. Well, trolls are always there, and the more active you become and the more you grow, you're going to attract more trolls, unfortunately. But just get friendly with that block button. I used to try and chat to them and figure out why. It's just not worth it. It doesn't work. If someone disagrees with you, I love it. If any of you want to disagree with me, please do. And I know you'll all be super professional about it, and I'll learn from it. So I love that. But online, you can clearly see a troll. Just hit block, move on, don't waste time on it. Okay, takeaways. Document your journey. I highly, highly recommend it. You don't have to take it too seriously, just have fun and see where it goes. Be social, engage with people. Remember the 80-20 rule. Try and focus 80% on the area that you want to grow a personal brand on. Be authentic. Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint, so it's not going to happen overnight. Everyone grows at different speeds, and there's just so many reasons why. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Compare yourself to yourself last month. As long as you're doing better than last month, that's all that matters. I like to say, do it little and often. It's like brushing your teeth, right? You don't wake up in the morning and go to bed and go, oh my God, I've got to brush my teeth. You just do it. But if you miss a day because you fell asleep in front of the TV, your teeth aren't going to fall out. The benefit is over time, and the same with content creation, same with learning, same with open source. It's the long game. One last thing I'd like to say is an extra tip. In your link in your bio, you could put a link on Twitter to get to LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, you could put a link in to Twitter. But there are tools like Linktree, or we have the open source version that my community made called Linkfree, where you can have one link where you put all your links, and we're adding testimonials and all sorts of awesome stuff as well. Anyone would like a demo, let me know, I can show you. If anyone wants to contribute to open source, I can also show you as well. Definitely have fun and don't burn out. It's really, really important that you have your days where you do take a break. And open source and content creation can really open so many doors for you, and I really see an overlap. Like, I share a lot of my open source contribution on Twitter, and it's part of my content creation. And everyone is super friendly and supportive. Trust me, if you want to come up on stage, you want to share content, do it. Like, when I came up on stage, did any of you, maybe one of you, but most of you probably didn't want me to fall over. You didn't want me to, do something wrong or have technical issues, right? You all wanted me to succeed. And everyone in the tech community on socials, they really want you to succeed. And I really believe we can all succeed together because we support each other. That's my QR code for my links. And I think that's the last one. When people say, AD, I want to contribute to your open source projects, or community members, I want to contribute to open source, can you tell me about the project? I love it how the community members have started using this, because this is what I say. I say, no, go have a look at our project, and if you can't understand it, there's not something wrong with you, there's something wrong with our project, and we can improve it together. And that's how our projects have got better and better and better. Like the Linkfree project has over 1,000 forks, because people are making small improvements, but when you look over that time, the amount of improvements, it's improved it a lot, but we've still got a long way to go. So any contributions are massively, massively welcome. Thank you.